Good morning, everyone. I am Julie Starrett. I am representing the Janssen Sports Leadership Center, who does college leadership training for college student athletes and coaches across the country. I also work full-time at Lehigh University in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which is a Division I institution, and I work with 650 student athletes and 25 varsity sports teams daily to train student athletes and coaches in leadership. Pretty cool job, pretty cool topic, and I'm happy to be sharing some information with you today. So let's get started here. We obviously at the Janssen Sports Leadership Center believe that leadership is one of the most, if not the most important differentiators in a championship experience. And so we've committed ourselves and work wholeheartedly with student athletes and coaches across the country to strengthen their leadership skills in order to most effectively lead their teams. We've seen evidence over the years that leadership training and education can enhance a team experience and a championship experience at that, and we're not alone in that sentiment. So many of sports' top coaches believe that leadership is absolutely critical to a championship experience. They understand the value of leadership. Coach K, who is obviously a very successful, longtime coach of Duke basketball, said talent is important, but the single most important ingredient after you get the talent is internal leadership. It's not the coaches as much as one single person or people on the team who set higher standards than the team would normally set for itself. I really believe that's been ultimately important for us. So clearly, if Coach K understands the value of leadership, many of sports college coaches across the country believe the same thing. Talent is important, and there is nothing that can make up for talent. However, it is critical that folks on an athletics team in college know how to lead effectively. So that's what we commit to. We commit to helping student athletes understand the value of leadership, understand how to enact leadership more effectively, so that we can meet their needs. This role is just as important on individual sports teams as well. So it's not just team sports that need strong leadership. Individual sports teams need leadership as well. Sue Bird, who played for the Seattle Storm, fantastic athlete, said sometimes it just takes one player to set the tone and everyone else will follow. So here's the deal. It's not about coaches being the leaders of the team. It's not about the coaches setting the tone. Coaches have rules and regulations, and they develop their program in a way that they think makes them as successful as possible, but they really rely on the leaders of the team to make the greatest impact, to design the culture of leadership. And it can be one person on the team, or it can be multiple people on the team. In fact, Chuck Noll, who was a Super Bowl winning coach of the Steelers, said that if you have great leaders on the team, then you have half the battle won before you even step out on the field. But if you have a negative tone set by those leaders, then you're beaten before you even begin the competition. So that is really important to understand, that it can just be one person who makes a difference. It can be a group of people who make a difference. It's also noteworthy that these people don't need to be titled team captain. You do not need to have the title of a team captain in order to step up and lead your team. All you really need is to be passionate enough to raise the bar, to raise the standards on your team and for yourself in order to make your team better. So it's about making a personal decision and a commitment to set that tone. That can happen from day one when you set foot on a college campus. So many of you who are high school athletes right now, you probably know who sets the tone on your team, or who has set the tone the previous few years. Take a moment to just think about what kind of tone were they setting? What actions were they taking or not taking? What did they do or not do? What did they say or not say? Was their tone positive or negative? You can probably think back throughout the years that you've played on your teams, both high school and club teams, and identify who were the leaders who set the tone. Then begin to think about what kind of tone do you set? Do you set a positive tone, or do you set a more negative tone? It's really important to take stock of where you are right now and to understand this sphere of influence within a team. Okay, let's move right along here. One really important point that I want to make today is that your leadership skills will impact your team's success and the world much more than your athletic skills ever will. And I just want to hammer this point home again, because most athletes who do have great talent, who intend to play college sports, think that it's their talent, their physical ability that is going to make the greatest impact on their team, and therefore have the college experience that they want. But very few recognize right away that their leadership skills actually impact the team far more than their athletic ability will. The sooner you can understand this and act on it, the greater your experience in college will be. And the best part about where you are right now as high school student athletes is that you have the chance to determine what kind of impact you are going to have. You can make that choice right now to impact your team's success in college. So now that we understand how important leadership is, and we recognize that coaches across the country think that leadership is critical on college sports teams beyond just having talent, that is an element of a championship experience, we need to really understand, what is this leadership thing all about? What does it actually mean if I choose to step up and be a leader on my team? What are the responsibilities? What are the risks associated with that role on my team? And what are the potential rewards of effective team leadership? So let's take a look at some of the responsibilities of being a team captain and a team leader. And again, remember, it does not have to be a title. You don't have to have the title of a captain in order to lead effectively on your team. Anybody can do these things that follow. So let's take a look at some of these responsibilities of a team leader. Number 1, set the mental and emotional tone for the team. So you heard about that in the last quote. Coach K and Sue Bird acknowledged that it's about setting the mental and emotional tone for the team. How hard do you work at practice? Do you bring a positive attitude to practice? We can choose that every single day, what our attitude looks like. And people underestimate the power of an attitude, but that's what people follow first. Your teammates will follow first the person, then the plan. So can you set a positive mental and emotional tone for the team that is consistent with the culture that the coach wants? One of the best ways to do that is simply to ask the coach, what is the mental and emotional tone that you most desire for our team in practices and in competitions? If you start right there, that is one of the responsibilities of being an effective team leader. The next one is talk with struggling teammates. So obviously leadership is a relational role, and it's not just about taking care of yourself, although that is where leadership starts. So after you set the mental and emotional tone to be a good role model, seek out those teammates who are struggling, who maybe are having a rough day at practice. Maybe there's something going on outside of sport that is affecting their mental and emotional tone or attitude or body language. Can you help those struggling teammates to motivate them to give a little bit more, to stay focused and to refocus when necessary? Number 3, another responsibility of being a team captain or a leader is to handle team conflicts. So a lot of people think that this is the coach's job. If we have an issue, if there's a rift on the team, if there are cliques on the team, if somebody's not getting along, if people are frustrated with playing time or the role that they're playing, the coach should handle all of those conflicts. I've seen from working over the past 6 years with our teams at Lehigh that the teams that are strongest and that emerge as the strongest teams in crisis, and when it matters most in a championship experience, are those that handle team conflicts internally. They discuss with each other. So those struggling teammates have open face-to-face communication, and the team leaders are able to handle those team conflicts before it even gets to the coach. Obviously, then the team leader has a responsibility to communicate with the coach. There we go with number 4. A team leader needs to be loyal to the coaches. So you need to become an extension of the coach. Understand his or her vision for the program. Understand his or her expectations for team leaders and for teammates in general. What are the expectations of being a member of this program? Can you be loyal to coaches so that you're not talking about them behind their backs when things get tough? You're not allowing teammates to talk about them behind their backs, and you truly are an extension of the program they are trying to build. Number 5, keep coaches informed. Like we talked about with struggling teammates and team conflicts, if it can't be handled internally, it's really important to share that information with coaches. It's important that team leaders can keep coaches abreast of what's going on within the team, who might be struggling, who's having a great time, who's really on their A game right now, and make sure that you're in constant conversation with them. So many folks that I know communicate only with coaches when there is a problem. The more you check in with coaches, even when things aren't going wrong, but when things are going really well, to give them that feedback, the better coaches can understand the players on the team. Number 6, team leaders are also responsible for providing input on team decisions. You represent your teammates. So you need to make sure that you understand what they believe and what they feel is best, and take that information to the coaches so that you can make an informed decision. Make sure that you are part of the process in team decisions and that you're representing your teammates, as well as the larger team interest. Number 7, lead drills and warm-ups. I can't say it enough. We learn in elementary school that leadership is really about the person that goes first. It's the person that steps up first. And sometimes leadership is simply about the courage to go first. Go first when it matters most. Are you leading drills? Are you leading warm-ups with authority, but also with confidence? You need to be able to step up so that your team sees that model that you're setting that corresponds to the mental and emotional tone for the team. And number 8, organized team activities. There's such a thing as cohesion. You don't have to love your teammates, but you do have to find a way to like them. And so making sure that the team is on the same page in the beginning of the season, at the end of the season, and throughout the whole season is really, really important. Organizing team activities where the team can just get together, get to know each other a little bit better, and discuss maybe what's going on at that point in the season is really, really important. So these are some of the responsibilities of being a team captain or a team leader. And these answers actually came from a poll that we did across the country with high school and college coaches and student athletes. The next thing that we need to consider after we understand what is expected of us, what are our responsibilities as team leaders, what are we really getting ourselves into by assuming this role on our college teams, we have to understand what's at stake. Leadership is not easy, or everyone would do it. Leadership has risks and challenges associated with it, so it's important to know what those are going into it. Number 1, you are expected to lead when you're not performing well. This is probably one of the most difficult things for a leader to do and to understand, to continue leading despite your own performance. I was a softball student athlete in college, and during my 4 years, this was the greatest challenge for me as a team leader, as a captain of my team my senior year. I had to uphold that responsibility no matter how I was playing that day on the field, and that varies. That can vary from day to day. So you have to really be able to hold two things simultaneously: your role on the team, your performance that goes along with that role, but also your leadership responsibility. You cannot give that up when things don't go your way. The second challenge or risk is that teammates will not always like your decisions. As a team leader, there are things that you are going to have to enforce that your teammates don't always like or agree with. But if you're doing it in the best interests of the team, if you're being an extension of your coach, this is a critical responsibility that may have some fallout. It has some risk associated with it. I work with student athletes all the time, male, female, individual sport athletes, and team sport athletes who struggle to separate their friendships from their teammate relationships. And the way I always explain it is you get to choose your friends. You may not always get to choose your teammates. And just as I mentioned before, you don't have to love them, but you have to find a way to like them. You have to find a way to get along with them. Make sure that when you're making decisions, you're doing so in the best interests of your team and you're telling your teammates that. Some great language to use is, it might not be fair or fun, but this is how we do things on our team. I'll do it with you. Anytime you can join your teammates in something that is challenging them can help them to feel supported. Another risk or challenge of leadership is that some teammates might actually be jealous of your leadership role. Oftentimes, student athletes are elected in a position of leadership, or they have influence without a title, and their teammates who do not have that same influence or do not have that title may actually be jealous. I suggest talking to them about this directly. understand their feelings around it, pump them up to feel good about something that is a natural strength of theirs and a great area where they can contribute to the team. This is a reality of being a team leader, is that you might face some of this jealousy in a leadership role. The fourth risk or challenge of being a team leader is maintaining the respect of team and coach when you disagree with them, or when they disagree with you. So all of these situations where there might be some potential conflict can be tricky to navigate, but you need to do what is best for the team. If you are acting consistently in a respectful manner, then your team and coaches should be respecting you more and more. I always say to my athletes, your credibility is like an investment in a bank. You can consider it like an ATM. Are you putting money in? Are you depositing credibility? Or are you taking money out with your own decisions and choices? So really think about every action that you take, every decision that you make before you take that action can either maintain or destroy your respect, the respect of your teammates and coaches that they have of you. Another risk or challenge is coaches will hold you accountable for problems. This is what goes along with being a team leader, is that you are the one accountable for a problem. So it's not just you being responsible for yourself. You have now become responsible for your teammates, regardless of whether you play on a team sport or an individual sport. It's important that someone maintains the standard on the team and assumes responsibility for that. You will have to confront teammates. This goes along with your teammates not always liking you and your decisions and struggling to maintain that balance between friendship and teammate relationship. There will be times, in fact, most championship teams, the team leaders of those championship teams have to confront their teammates and sometimes some of their best friends. There are ways to do this without yelling in someone's face and without sacrificing the most important part of the relationship. You can achieve your goals while at the same time maintaining the standard of your team. Number 7, always being watched by teammates and coaches. You are in the limelight. As a leader, people are looking to you to go first. Remember, we talked about a responsibility of leadership being to go first, to initiate, to role model. So you are putting yourself in a position to be watched. You need to be okay with that. You need to admit mistakes when you are when you are wrong in a situation. And make sure that you can talk to folks about what they're seeing. Ask for feedback. Make sure that you're constantly aware that you are in the limelight as a leader. Another risk or challenge based on the poll of our student athletes and coaches across the country is having to invest extra time during the year. And I'll say it again, leadership takes commitment. Leadership takes commitment outside of just the time that you are at practice or just outside the time that you're competing. It takes time thinking about your teammates, evaluating your own performance and your own leadership performance, meeting with coaches and team captains and teammates, and that takes time. It takes time and energy, but the rewards of making this leadership investment are great. Let's take a look at some of those rewards. The rewards or benefits of effective team leadership. You heard it from Coach K, you heard it from Sue Bird, and you'll continue to hear it from the athletes and coaches on your teams in college. I guarantee it. What is most important is effective leadership to ensure high team standards. Team leaders don't let people slack off. Team leaders don't slack off themselves. It's maintaining a certain standard that represents the culture of the championship team you're trying to build. The next reward or benefit of effective leadership is that people work harder. We had a transformation this year on one of our women's teams where the team leader gave it her all every single day, and so people didn't have an excuse to not work hard. She maintained the team standard of a strong work ethic by giving 100% every single day without fail. It was the consistency and quality of her work ethic that really set the tone. Number 3, keep the team focused. Effective team leaders are able to keep the team focused during a long season. Our sports season, we play a lot of games. We have a lot of practices. Weather or other things other variables can affect us officiating. Sometimes pressure that we feel externally. Team leaders have to be able to keep the team focused, and when they can do that well, that becomes a real reward and benefit. Number 4, help the team overcome adversity. Strong team leaders help their entire team to navigate challenges that they inevitably confront each season a little bit more smoothly. Oftentimes this requires recalling what is most important to the team and helping the team stay focused. Better team chemistry. Team leaders undoubtedly create better team chemistry and relationships. I mentioned it before. Leadership is all about effective relationships. So by working constantly, adding that extra time and extra energy into building better team chemistry can go a long way for your team. Number 6, help freshmen and newcomers adjust. Now, I recognize that many of you are going to be in this position, so that doesn't mean that you should wait for someone to help you feel welcome and adjusted. You should talk to your fellow freshmen, your fellow first-year student athletes and peers on your team about how are you adjusting? How do you feel like this transition from high school to college is going? Any way that you can reach out and start that process right away is a huge step in the right direction. We approach life often as though we are waiting to be served by someone else. And a leader's attitude is to look for ways to reach out to teammates and to help the team right away. Number 7, another reward or benefit of effective leadership is you help coaches to understand the team. A lot of times, student athletes and coaches feel a disconnect because they don't fully understand each other and they may be misinterpreting each other's priorities or perhaps impressions, and it's really important for team leaders to help coaches understand what's going on for the team and vice versa. And lastly, team leaders can help their teams and their teammates take care of business in the classroom. This is obviously what allows you to be an athlete. By taking care of your schoolwork first, that is a number one priority. It allows you to actually have the privilege to play a sport in college. So team leaders ensure that the right things are happening not only in practice and on the field of competition, but also outside of that in the classroom and in their social lives. In short, we got one more. Do the right thing on and off campus. That really goes hand in hand with the taking care of business in the classroom. Are they doing the right things socially? Team leaders need to make that a priority. And lastly, signing and screening recruits. So the whole cycle repeats itself when a team leader does their job well. When a team leader is reaching out to teammates and creates team chemistry, when a team leader is reinforcing the high standards of work ethic and focus and helping teammates overcome adversity, recruits and prospective student athletes can see that kind of a team culture. It becomes evident almost immediately. And when that happens, people see that they want to be part of that kind of a program. You may have even experienced that yourself as you prepare to join a new team. Team leadership can perpetuate this cycle of strong team leaders and teammates. So in short, the rewards and benefits of effective team leadership are really success. Your chances of success in college improve. And I'm not just talking about your individual success. I'm talking about the collective team success, which contributes to your satisfaction. You will have a better experience if your team is winning. And your team is more likely to win when effective leaders are assuming the responsibilities that we covered. They're willing to put up with the risks and the challenges in order to achieve these 10 benefits and rewards. And then lastly, this kind of leadership training, this energy and effort that you're investing, it goes well beyond the way that you would apply it in sport. These are the kinds of skills that you will use for the rest of your life. As an employee, as a member of your family, in all of your relationships, these things will serve you. So we've got responsibilities, risks, and rewards of leadership, and that's great because now we understand what this leadership thing is really all about. But that begs the question, how do we do it, and how do we do it well? Here's a model of leadership that we use with our athletes across the country. So you're getting a glimpse into some of the cutting-edge leadership training that we do with our college athletes at the Division I, II, and III levels. All leadership, I mentioned before, begins with the ability to lead yourself first. If you think about it very simply, no one is going to want to follow you unless you're taking care of yourself. That turns into leadership by example. When you effectively lead yourself, you emerge as a leader by example on your team, and this is where all effective leadership starts. So we break down leadership by example, which you can probably see. In fact, if you go back to that exercise in the beginning of my presentation here, I asked you to think about who are the leaders that came before you on your high school teams and what kind of tone did they set. You can probably determine, you can evaluate now whether they had these 4 keys to being a leader by example. I'm going to briefly cover what these are, and then if you have any questions about them, please feel free to submit those questions. The first thing that is most important is that you are committed. Commitment is an absolute pillar for leadership by example, because you have to show people that no matter what, you are prioritizing this sport experience and this team. So what does commitment look like? Ask yourself and honestly answer, are you one of the top 2 hardest workers on your team? Are you one of the top 2 hardest workers on your team? If you can answer yes to that question, great. Then you're well on your way to having one of the 4 foundations of leadership by example. But if you are realistically saying, you know what, I am not consistently one of the hardest working people on my team, how can I commit more fully to this experience? Or what is preventing me from committing to this experience? Our commitment level is a choice every single day in everything that we do. You can be highly committed to school, you can be highly committed to practice, or you can choose to walk in there and go through the motions. So our commitment level is a choice, and we find that leaders by example exhibit consistent high commitment levels. The second thing that leaders by example have is confidence in themselves. They understand what their physical and mental strengths are. Each of you have a gift. You may not know exactly what it is yet, but leaders are committed to figuring out from where can I draw confidence? What part of me is the best possible contribution that I can make to my team? What are my physical and mental strengths? Another source of confidence is preparation. What have you done to prepare yourself to be in a leadership role on your team, or to be in a physical performing role on your team? What preparation have you put in? Another source is past success. Where have you been successful in the past? You should certainly draw on those examples in order to have confidence for the future. I always say if you've done it once, you can do it again, and probably the only thing getting in your way is fear of failure or your own inhibitions. So it's really important that you develop the confidence that you need and not wait around for other people to endorse you. The third key of leadership by example is character, doing the right thing consistently. And I would argue that this is one of the most important characteristics of a leader by example, because if you do not have character, then confidence, commitment, and the fourth one that we'll talk about in a second, composure, don't matter. Character is doing the right thing consistently. Remember that bank account. Are you depositing credibility with your actions and decisions, or are you taking away from your bank account of credibility? People are always watching you as a leader. This means doing the right thing consistently all the time. And lastly, the fourth C of effective leadership by example is composure. Are you able to recognize and manage your own emotions? So when things don't go your way, how do you react? When you're under pressure, how do you react? What happens to you physically, and what is the corresponding emotion? Can you track that, and then can you learn how to manage that? If you have the ability to manage your own emotions, other people will look to you in times of crisis. So these are the 4 C's, which are the foundation for effective leadership. All leadership starts with leading yourself. Michael Jordan, I love this quote because it's a great reminder of how to do those 4 C's. You can't make excuses. It would be easy, if we just go back here, it would be easy to make excuses about any of these 4 things. I'm tired today. I don't have what it takes to give 100% effort. That's an excuse. Or I'm waiting for someone else to give me confidence. We can't make excuses if we expect to be leaders. There has to be quality in everything that we do. So we're talking about quality in these 4 C's, and we're talking about consistency. Derek Jeter just says, I just try to be consistent. I try every day to help the team win. It might not always be something that shows up in the box score, but every day you can try to do something to help the team. I love that quote. It frames things perfectly for me. If I think back to my days as an athlete, I know that no matter how I was performing, I still have a job to do. And it's the consistency with which I approach that job or that opportunity that determines how effective I am as a leader. So the 4 C's, you can see the blue boxes that we already covered. The 4 C's create a foundation for you to lead vocally. Once you have effectively mastered leadership by example, you continue doing those 4 things consistently and with quality, but then you must add in 2 more very important roles to leadership. And these roles happen to be about vocally leading. So once you do all these things that don't require you to even open your mouth, you can begin to work on the credibility that you have established with your teammates by becoming a vocal leader. And to be a vocal leader, 75% of the time we want to be encouraging. That encourager role includes building the confidence of our teammates, encouraging our teammates to work hard to meet the standards of the team, and challenging them in a really positive way. Refocusing our teammates when they do get disturbed or when they're a little frazzled. So that corresponds to your own composure. Can you recognize the emotions of your teammates now and help them to regain the composure that they need? Also, an encourager is a team builder. They're constantly looking for ways to keep the morale of the team high, to help people develop relationships within the team that improve team cohesion. So all of those things help us to be an encourager on our teams, and that's an important vocal role to add once you've mastered being a leader by example. But we can't forget that 25% of the time, realistically, we are going to need to be the enforcer on our teams. We are going to be insurance against stupidity. We are going to need to be the bearers of the standard. Are we doing what we said we would do? And are you holding your teammates accountable to doing what they said they would do? So the enforcer role might be challenging for a lot of people who don't have that direct personality, that direct style of communication. But it is critical to being an effective vocal leader, is being able to step up and tell people when they need to get back in line. If you do encourage 75% of the time and you're reinforcing the behaviors that you want to see, then most likely the enforcer role becomes a little bit easier. You only have to step in and enforce when things really go awry. But the more encouraging you do, ideally the less enforcing needs to happen. So that's the team captain's leadership model, which briefly explains what leadership is all about. This vocal leadership thing is really about knowing what to say and when in the right tone of voice. And that comes with time and with experience. So again, as new members of a college team, I encourage you not to jump right to the vocal leadership portion of being an effective team leader. I encourage you to watch other people. In fact, let's move right to that. A big question that I get all the time from incoming athletes and new team members, first-year student athletes on a college team, is how do I begin to lead on my college team, especially as a freshman? How do I earn the respect of the leaders on my team? 3 simple keys. Number 1, really listen. Really listen hard to what your teammates and your coaches are saying. This is the best way to pick up the culture of the team, to understand what really matters to your teammates. One of the best ways is to simply observe. Simply observe in the first few weeks, what are you noticing? Ask yourself what strikes you about the great leaders on the team. What tone are they setting? How do they go about their business? So really listen to what the coach has to say and to what your teammates are saying. Now, this requires a great deal of focus. A lot of times, we think that listening is something that we just do easy, but it takes a lot of focus, and by spending that time on focusing on listening, you can actually enhance your ability to focus when you perform. The second thing that you can do to earn respect of the leaders on your team instantly is learn from everyone you meet. We're coming from high school where we were probably a top dog on our team, and now we're coming back to the bottom of the pyramid. If there is a hierarchy in sport, first-year student athletes have to relearn the culture all over again. So learn from everyone you meet. Find that 1% that you have in common with people and focus 100% of your attention and energy on it. By learning from other people, we recognize that we don't know it all, and we actually can contribute to this team once we know what it's all about. I love this wooden quote. It's what you learn after you know it all that counts. Keep that in mind, especially as a first-year student athlete on your team. Lastly, how do we earn the respect of the leaders on my team? Number 3, act with the best interests of your team at heart. Keep that character in mind. Keep your level of commitment in mind. This goes for everything from how much sleep do I get the night before a practice or a game, to what am I choosing to put in my body by way of food or drink? What kind of clothing am I wearing? What language am I using on campus? Every decision that you make in the way that you conduct yourself needs to be considered with the best interests of your team at heart. This is precisely how you build credibility. You can probably see the themes of leadership by example in commitment, character, confidence, and composure in these 3 tips about how to earn respect of leaders on your team. By focusing simply on those 4 keys, that is the best thing you can do as a new member of your program. To keep it simple, it's really about being selfless right away. Ask not what your teammates can do for you, but ask instead what you can do for them. If you apply yourself as a servant to your team, that is the best thing you can do for establishing credibility early and often as a leader on your team, setting the foundation for your years as an upperclassman where you can really make an impact. Mia Hamm also mentioned that she's a member of a team and she relies on the team. She defers to it, she sacrifices for it, because the team, not the individual, is the ultimate champion. Now, this is true even on an individual team sport. It's not about you. Leaders recognize that it's about everyone around them and how they influence and make others better. That is how our entire experience improves, and we give ourselves a better chance at being successful. That's all I have planned for you today. I'm going to take a couple questions after this, but I also I just want to let you know that I have additional resources available on our website, Janssen Sports Leadership Center, JanssenSportsLeadership.com. Jeff Janssen has written several books, the Team Captain's Leadership Manual, which emphasizes the model of leadership that I shared with you today, and it dives into each one of those components, those 4 C's and the elements of vocal leadership are all explained in great detail with exercises in the leadership manual. There's a championship team building book which helps with building cohesion and developing team unity and understanding. There's a great book for coaches out there, 7 Secrets of Successful Coaches. We use that regularly in our coaches workshops and trainings. And then some other great resources about developing relentless competitors. There's a discount available for you until next Monday, 10%. Just enter the promo code webinar online. And all of these resources are under the resources tab on the webpage. So I'll go now to, there were a couple questions. I was just going to ask about respect, Kelly Douglas. Thank you for saying that. Respect is totally a two-way highway. The more you give it, the more you receive it, in my opinion. I think we've got a lot of questions about what are the most important leadership skills, and I think hopefully we covered those. I would boil down leadership skills to the way that you conduct yourself, in terms of your attitude, setting that mental and emotional tone, the composure that we talked about, managing your level of effort and work ethic. Those things are certainly paramount to establishing a good foundation of leadership. And then learning how to communicate effectively. All of those vocal leadership skills that we discussed are really about effective communication. Do you know how to communicate with people when things get tough? Do you know how to encourage people when they just need a little extra boost, or just a little bit of acknowledgement for the efforts that they're making? There is another. How can I show my leadership skills outside of practice is another great question. And I would say these same core principles of leadership by example apply. So what kind of decisions and commitment level are you making to your experiences off of the field, outside of practice? Are you setting the tone as an academic leader on your team? Are you setting the tone as a responsible social leader on your team? And are you constantly working to develop relationships with your teammates? I think those 3 things are a great way to start demonstrating your leadership skills outside of the practice or athletic realm. I would also say communicate consistently right away with your coach. So one of the best things you can do is ask your coaches what they want for the team. Ask them what the team core values are. Ask them what role they see you playing and what potential you may have. The more you consistently communicate with your coaches, and not just to gain information that is relevant for you, but also to find out how they're doing. One of the best things team leaders and student athletes tend to overlook is that sometimes just stopping by your coach's office to find out how he or she is doing, that's a great way to develop that relationship right off the bat. Coaches appreciate that tremendously. Let's see if there are any other questions. I'll give a a minute or two more to ask any other questions that we might have, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up here. Hopefully I was able to cover most of the questions that you folks have. Okay, I don't see any other questions coming through, so with that, we'll wrap up. Please do check out our additional resources. There are also some great evaluations online. There's a self-leadership evaluation as well as a team-building evaluation on our website that I would encourage you to check out, and just continue to ask questions. Remember those 3 keys: listen, learn from everyone you meet, and act with the best interests of your team at heart. I wish you the best in your college experience, and I'm sure it'll be a great one. Take care. Thank you.